Imagine a woman who seemed to have it all: a loving husband, 3 daughters, and a home that welcomed struggling friends and relatives. But beneath this seemingly perfect facade lay a chilling and dark secret. Michelle Shelly Knotek, known for her generosity, invited people into her Raymond, Washington home, only for them to disappear. Among her victims was her old friend, Kathy Laurino, who vanished in 1994 after living with the Knoteks for 5 years. Shelly claimed Kathy had started a new life, but this was a lie. The horrifying truth was revealed by Shelly's daughters, who exposed the abuse, starvation, and murder that took place. Knotek tortured her victims, forced them to jump off the roof, and made them drink urine. In 2004, Shelly was sentenced to 22 years in prison but was released in November 2022 after serving just 18 years, leaving her daughters fearful of what might come next. Stay tuned as we uncover the shocking details of a woman who transformed her home into a house of horrors. Before starting the video, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date with the latest uploads. Michelle Knotek was born on April 15, 1954, and raised in a dysfunctional home in Raymond, Washington. Raised by a mentally ill, alcoholic mother, Shelly and her brothers endured instability until their mother abandoned them when Shelly was 6. They went to live with their father and stepmother, but Shelly tormented her siblings, blaming them for problems and acting out violently. Her cruelty escalated, even placing glass in their shoes. Despite her troubled upbringing, Shelly never expressed concern after her mother's death when Shelly was 13, continuing to manipulate and torment those around her. In March 1969, 14-year-old Shelly showed what she was truly capable of. She didn't come home from school. Panicked, Stallings and Watson called the school and were told that Shelly was at a juvenile detention center. Their worst fears, however, didn't come close to the reality. Shelly Knotek was not in trouble. She had accused her father of rape. Stallings later discovered a dog-eared copy of True Confessions in Shelly's room with a bold headline on the front reading, "I was raped AT-15 BYMY Dad." A doctor's examination later confirmed Stallings' suspicion. Shelly lied about the rape. She was taken to multiple sessions with a psychologist, both on her own and with her family, but they proved to be unsuccessful. Shelly refused to accept that she was anything but innocent. Shelly eventually moved in with Stallings' parents, but her destructive behavior persisted. She threw tantrums, barricaded neighbor children in their rooms, and falsely accused her grandfather of abuse. This pattern of manipulation continued through 2 marriages, the birth of her daughters, Nikki and Sami, and into 1982 when she met Navy veteran Dewitte Knotek. They married in 1987, and by the following year, Shelly welcomed her first victim into their home. Shelly Knotek's first victim moved into her home in 1988. He was her 13-year-old nephew, Shane Watson. Shane's father, a member in a biker gang, was in jail. His mother was destitute, unable to care for him. Knotek took to torturing Watson almost immediately. She dubbed her style of reprimanding him as wallowing, which she employed for things as negligible as going to the bathroom without asking. Wallowing involved ordering the boy, and her daughters, for that matter, to stand outside naked in the cold while she dumped water on him. Shelly took additional pleasure in humiliating her eldest daughters, Nikki and Sami, by ordering them to give her handfuls of their pubic hair. Their wallowing also frequently included being caged in a dog kennel. Once, Shelly shoved Nikki's head through a glass door. "Look what you made me do," she said to her daughter. The only person in the home that Shelly didn't torture, at the time, was her infant daughter Tori. Unfortunately, that would later change. Meanwhile, she forced her nephew and Nikki to dance nakedly together as she laughed. After torturing her children and nephew, she would drop love bombs of utter affection on them. In December 1988, just months after Shane moved in, Shelly Knotek welcomed her old friend Kathy Laurino, who had lost her job. Shelly greeted her warmly, but Laurino soon became another victim. She was forced into labor, drugged nightly, and made to sleep by the basement boiler. In 1994, Shelly's abuse escalated to murder. By this time, Kathy Laurino had lost over 100 pounds and was covered in bruises, cuts, and sores. After a brutal beating, she was left unconscious. David later found her choking on her own vomit, but despite his efforts to revive her, Kathy Laurino was dead. Dewitte Knotek, fearing the consequences, chose not to call 911 when Kathy Laurino died. Instead, he and Shelly burned her body and scattered the ashes. Shelly told everyone Laurino had left with a lover. In 1995, Shane, who had photos of Kathy's abuse, planned to go to the police. But Nikki informed Shelly of Shane's plan, leading Shelly to order Dewitte to shoot Shane. The Knoteks burned Shane's body and scattered his ashes, just as they had with Laurino's. Shelly Knotek later described her father, Dewitte, as weak and easily controlled by Shelly. In 1999, Shelly's friend Ron Woodworth moved in but soon fell victim to the same horrific abuse. Woodworth, a 57-year-old gay veteran with a drug problem, was subjected to relentless abuse. Shelly denied him access to the bathroom, forcing him to go outside. In 2002, Shelly Knotek took in 81-year-old James McClintock, who had reportedly willed her his estate. McClintock died from a head wound, but police couldn't link Knotek to his death. Meanwhile, Knotek continued her abuse of Ron Woodworth, forcing him to cut ties with his family, drink his own urine, and jump off the roof. Although he survived the fall, he was severely injured and Knotek poured bleach over his wounds. Woodworth died in August 2003. Knotek hid his body in the freezer, later burying it in the yard. When 14-year-old Tori discovered Woodworth's belongings and suspected what had happened, she sought help from her older sisters to report the abuse. Police investigated the Knotek property in 2003 and found Woodworth's buried body. Dewitte and Shelly Knotek were arrested on August 8 of that year. While Tori Knotek was placed in her sister Sammy's custody, Dewitte Knotek confessed to shooting Watson and burying Woodworth 5 months later. He was charged with second-degree murder for shooting Watson. He served 13 years. Michelle Knotek, meanwhile, was charged with second-degree murder and manslaughter for the deaths of Laurino and Woodworth, respectively. She was sentenced to just 22 years. It didn't take long for her family to begin fearing what might happen upon her eventual release. "If she ever turns up on my doorstep," Sami said, "I can just see myself locking all my doors and barricading myself in the bathroom to call the police." Nikki and Sami are now in their mid-40s, living in Seattle. Tori, however, needed a change of scenery and moved to Colorado. In 2018, Dewitte Knotek was paroled and reached out to his daughters to ask for forgiveness. Sami and Tori have gone on record saying that, despite everything, they do forgive their father, whom they consider to be just another of Michelle Knotek's victims. Nikki, however, did not accept her father's apology. For her, the abuse was unforgettable and unforgivable. Then, finally, after serving only 18 years, Shelly Knotek was released from the Washington Correction Center for Women in Gig Harbor on November 8, 2022, at the age of 68. Enjoying our content? Please like and share video with your friends and don't forget to share your thoughts in comment section. Don't miss out on future videos. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date with the latest uploads. Thanks for watching.